Everybody, welcome to Karandrin Role Playing. This is an unscheduled stream testing new software, but it's not just for that purpose. It's also to we're going to do a little retrospect on our retrospective on our first 100 episodes. As always, I'm joined by my good buddy Max, who plays Brise throughout Brise's Tale.
Now in widescreen. Look at this.
Exactly, we're widescreen. If we choose to go with this new format, this is generally how we'll play. We might try just a couple of different ones when there's a map involved, when we're exploring a ruin. So yeah, 100 episodes of Brise's Tale down, and what we're going to do tonight for the next hour or so is discuss some of our favorite moments from it, and really sort of enjoy ourselves. So I hope you enjoy it. And with that, I'm just going to pass it over to Max to let him kick us off. And Max, sort of what's your
well, Kevin, before I jump, I don't want to be bearer of bad news, but I'm not seeing us live on YouTube yet. Can you see us live? I'm searching up Karandrin, but
interesting.
On YouTube. Give us a look there.
What is going on? Well, shall I end the stream then?
Well, how about I just go to the take a break page, and then we'll figure it out, and figure out where the stream is going.
Yeah, I don't. All right, so
because we need it live to see, where it's broadcasting to, right?
Broadcasts and recordings, past broadcast destinations.
Oh, we're live on Twitch.
I just reconnected to both.
Okay. Well, we're live on Twitch, so I guess we'll keep going. Maybe we'll appear on YouTube soon, I hope.
Very strange. Yeah, it's not like I don't have a place to input a stream key, and that's the mystery here.
Yeah. Well, this might be a Twitch only episode, which is okay. Maybe we can download it and put it on YouTube later.
Right.
But yeah, Twitch, when I hover over, it says intended for certain audiences, may contain mature rated games, significant profanity, or vulgarity. Which is completely fucking wrong. I don't know why they would say such a stupid thing.
That's right. They're a bunch of assholes, honestly. I mean, if I were to,
I like how it says profanity or vulgarity. Like, they are two separate.
Yes. You're profane, I think, against God, right? And you're vulgar against vulgarity just means it's untoward or inappropriate material. Well, this is interesting.
Well, yeah, so we'll jump into it. Like Kevin said, we're just doing some reminiscing, and we picked a couple of interesting moments to talk about from the stream. So the first one I thought was a really probably still fresh on everyone's minds, even though it was a couple months ago, was when dealing with Verilag, and specifically, so Verilag, the sorceress who Brise had kind of a soul connection to for a long time. She had accidentally trespassed into a prison that this sorceress was, not a sorceress, a queen was put into long time ago, before we even started streaming years ago. And since then, I had freed part of Verilag, and she had been connected to me with this prison with this link for all this time. And so turned out that Verilag was getting her power from a ancient demon lord who she had managed to trap above a volcano named Kralum, this enormous being.
The volcano was named Kralum?
Well, yes, Mount Kralum.
Yeah.
I wonder why it took us so long to find him. It was
We're asking around about the wrong person.
so anyway, just speed things up, right? We located Crowlam's prison, and we found some of the tomes Verilag had used to entrap Crowlam and drain his energy, and I guess also make the volcano prison, functional, right? Like they needed heat resistance, so she herself could be there, and illusions, in case anyone else showed up to, block them from arriving. And I had arrived with the wizard Batherin to swap out those tomes, and so we could study them and possibly find out how to free Crowlam. And so that was a really fun, tense experience. I remember. So just
What
being
made it?
in.
What made it so tense?
So I did miss out a detail, which is that because Verlag and I had this connection, right? A lot of her spells shouldn't affect me, um, or at least her safeguards, right? Her wards, things that would alert her to the presence of certain people. That's the theory we had. So we were kind of testing that theory on the fly by teleporting to the volcano prison and hoping, whatever we touched didn't have some word on it that would alert her to our presence. And so literally we, came to the podium, which itself was some, or sorry, not podium, lectern, right? Which
Yeah,
itself was some powerful magic item she had acquired.
right.
And Batherin, the goblin wizard, um, ended up casting these illusion spells, to replicate the tomes exactly. I remember one was opened, I think, and the other was closed. And so she created an illusion as with like tactile sensibility too, right? So that you could actually, um, yeah, I
Right.
guess it would appear to like feel like a book, right? Feel like a book.
Right. Yeah. It would have, yeah, it would have tactile response, as you said. It would, yeah.
And so that whole time we were like, as soon as she cast the spell, Vera like might show up. As soon as we touch the tome, she might show up. If we walk in this area, it was very much that. And then of
And
course, go ahead.
and at this point in the story, of course, Verlag doesn't know that you've been working against her.
Right. To
And
her,
so,
I've been obsequious, been trying to
right.
obey her
Um,
and pretend like I'm loyal to her.
yeah,
Uh,
your obsequiousness was ubiquitous. And so
yeah,
like if this was sort of a all or nothing gambit.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because had you been caught, then that's it. Batherin would have been killed, and you would
I would have
probably
been
in
trapped in
prison.
some prison forever, while
Yeah,
Verlag searches for a way to gain more power and free
right,
herself completely from the prison.
right. Now, I don't know if I told you. I can't remember if I told you this, because I tell people close to us, see things that I don't tell you about what's going on. But she um, had found an answer to free
Yeah,
herself from you.
you did tell me this. Yeah.
Yeah, like the week before you freed her, but she was just making the arrangements. But
Wow.
um, she had figured out a way to do it. And then what was interesting is it was actually going to be safe for you. Like
Oh,
it was,
really?
yeah. I mean, barring a fumble or a mishap, right?
Right.
Which no one can really, you can only take certain precautions. Um, but yeah,
She
it,
was
it
gonna
is, it is,
cleave yeah, the bond between us.
yeah. Um, one of one of my loves about role playing is that it is a different form of storytelling. But one of the constants in all good storytelling is the role of tension, the absolute necessity for tension.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be danger. It doesn't. It has to be fundamentally, as I've always
Even
argued.
in comedy, there's tension. Yeah.
Right. They're fundamentally the question you have to invest. Tension means your audience is invested in the question, what happens next? It could be, will they kiss? It could be, will he fall off the cliff? Could be, will she get that new job?
Right.
They have to be invested in that. And that's, depending on the category of thing you're doing, that's what we mean by tension. And
Right.
um, it's just as vital in a role playing game, regardless of genre. And
And
so
then
yeah, that's a
the
great
other
example of it.
right. And to finish off that example with, again, tension, after, we had done everything successfully, one of the hallmarks of your system, Kevin, is exhaustion, right? And casting spells, especially if you do a spell poorly, will take up more exhaustion. And I can't remember the numbers, right? But essentially, Valorant casts such a high level spell at such a low um, efficiency, right, or low skill that
Right,
she
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 just didn't
just
do it well.
blacked out. Yeah,
Yeah,
she did the spell and then she just fainted in this volcano prison, where we need to like quickly get out of. And I think I was able to teleport her out of there and get her to some healers, and who got her stable. I think she was not out for like 2 or 3 days after
yeah,
casting the illusion spell. I was again, very tense, a different kind of tension. It's like, will she be okay?
right,
Um,
right.
so,
You
and
know,
that was episode 50 I did write that one down right in the middle. So if
right,
anyone wants to go and relive that moment, it's fun.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, it's right. There's the tension of how am I going to get both of us out of here safely,
right,
because I can't wait to hope that she revives
right,
for fear of being caught.
right.
And if I get us out of here, will she ever wake up? I mean, is she okay? Um, and
Man, what if I had just teleported out of there with the tomes by myself, left Batherin there, Verlag appears, finds Batherin, and they're like, she must have thrown my tomes, in the lava or destroyed them.
right,
That would have been such a clean like story.
that's right. You've got your
Um,
Patsy.
I'm glad Breeze is not that type of player.
You know,
Although it would be fun to try playing someone kind of ruthless like that.
right. I could see a more ruthless character. Like Batherin can't be discovered here.
Right.
She's gonna have to go into the lava, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Just,
Mhm.
because I mean, we can't leave evidence that we were here. There's no real place to hide her.
Right.
Even if I could hide her, what am I going to do? Leave her a note that says, "Hey, if you wake up, remain absolutely silent and still."
Yeah. Oh my
Um, um,
Yeah, that was a good moment. I really enjoyed that
um, I'm gonna. I mean, I could. I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna center my tale, my reflection on a series of episodes we had, and I'm just gonna kind of, and we'll bounce back and forth, you and I,
one. Yeah.
and so my general range of episodes is episode 14 through 18. And this is Brise's exploration of an abandoned mine, and it turns out with a lab inside of it, um, in the mountains near Neograw's Keep. Now, Brise at this point had been exploring an old battlefield that had been labeled on a map that Verlag had provided just to make sure that Brise stayed in the area. It had various mysterious labels on this map, and so you chose the battlefield that was the nearest one that was labeled the battlefield, and so you went and explored this. And in the course of that, toward the end of your exploring this mountainside battle site, your familiar spots a cave or mine opening.
My familiar was Laula at the time, right?
Yeah, at the time it was a songbird that you named Laula.
We upgraded to a falcon.
We upgraded to a Falcon. There was an update to the software, and it really increased performance.
Next up is a great eagle, by the way.
That's right. The next up's a Great Eagle. After that, it's who knows what. I don't know what's bigger than a Great Eagle. What's better than a Great Eagle? I couldn't
An
imagine.
emu.
An emu.
Just an
Finally,
enormous ostrich.
exactly. It's the elephant bird, right? That we managed to kill as humans. We so so in that exploration, first we had sort of the sense that things were unnatural there, that there was a curse upon the place, and so in part it was sort of your early exploration of the nature of curses and things, and I like that. I always like the sense that my characters are learning about not just the world piece by piece, like geographically,
Mhm.
but also like the underpinnings of the world. Um, 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 Things like, okay, well, magic sort of works this way, but it also can work this way.
Right.
So here was, then the example here is that curses aren't necessarily a structured, artificial thing meant to harm others, but just the evil, prolonged evil influence can cause curse and ill effects in an area. And it's a common popular belief, of course, even in our culture, right? Less so now, of course, in the modern day. But, if, in the medieval era, if all the calves are stillborn, you don't think, oh, well, that's just happenstance. No, you ascribe it a cause, and that
Right.
cause is some dark influence in the area, you know.
I think a
And
lot of Japanese beliefs. I've read a lot of stories too, in Japanese folk tales where there's just misfortune can cause an area to be like, you know,
tainted,
not good. Yeah, tainted. Yeah.
right? Um, so um, So I liked that. I like that aspect of it, that you were piecing this together from the information the spells were giving you.
Mhm.
And then, so when you went to go through and explore, and I'll just sort of, I'll stop at the early stages of this, but there were just some interesting things. One of the things that I enjoyed doing too for these ruins or abandoned places. I know people call them dungeons, but I think it's a terrible word to use in a medieval setting, since dungeons have a very specific uh, meaning. Um, but is the fact that these places that have long been abandoned get reused over and over again, and there's remnants, there's evidence of past occupation in these ruins, and I find that really interesting. I should look up at you like this. Does that work? I
Yeah.
talk. Is that funny? Can I just talk
What's
to
that? Well,
you? Tickle,
just
tickle, tickle, tickle. Okay.
grab a broom and start going like.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man, I'm doing that our next stream if we stick with this one. Um, so like you went through and you found that um, there were barracks here, for a handful of soldiers,
Right.
and since this was a place of battle, that is I should say, the lands beyond the bluff beyond the cave entrance.
Mhm.
It suggests the soldiers were here, stationed here beforehand, and then perhaps they were attacked.
Right.
Um, and These little bits of a place's history, I love leaving. I think it's
Yes.
so evocative, and I think it makes the world feel so much realer. And I
Yeah,
and
I remember coming across like the mine carts and like graffiti from some of the workers, who were
right,
on the research team and putting like, putting names together and
right.
that was
And it's a lesson that I've taught a lot of young writers in my role as a fiction editors. It's sometimes it's often not about the answers. It's about posing the questions, and the fact that you don't get answers is what makes it real.
right.
I mean, if you think
Right.
about driving through a town that you're not very familiar with, and you see a building torn down, you don't know the history of that building. You don't know that,
Right.
and it's the vastness of the world made real because there's simply too much to know,
Mhm.
and we're these little specks traveling through. But even in the early days of that adventure, and I'll revisit other parts of that as we bounce back and forth. But
Yeah.
so, what's another favorite moment of yours?
Well, it's a good segue because in that mine, I saw the mention of the name Agakyle a few times. And I can't remember how much we learned about him in the mine. I think there might have been some notes that identified him as like an important person in this project. We saw
Mhm.
benches and books in vials, filled with liquids, and those were so I've named like Agricola again, and we learned later he was leading some research effort here. And what was really cool is after exiting that mine and kind of walking back onto the undead battlefield, we caught there have been plenty of undead specters and skeletons and zombies all walking around this battlefield, tons of corpses, right? And so there's this ghost drummer boy who we saw off in the distance, who somehow was able to command other undead with this drum he would beat. And that itself was really creepy. But when he then used his drum and Agakyl's spirit rose out of the ground and started talking to me, at first I was like, man, what a coincidence. But then it makes perfect sense because this is probably where he fell in this battle, right? Or in some accident here. And then
I remember when he popped up behind you, and you were like, what the?
Yeah.
It was like he was behind you and you were hiding.
Right.
And so,
trying to get a spot on the drummer boy. Yeah. I have some notes here from our conversation. Actually, so this would have been episode 18, I guess. I didn't write down the number, but if you said 14 to 18, this is at the tail end of that exploration.
It's definitely, 18. Yeah, it's got to be in that region, if not the next one.
Agricola says, "What are you doing? You have to flee." From the drum and all the spirits who are coalescing. I say, "I'm going to fight. I'm going to see if I can take this guy down." And so he actually tries to help me. He grabs, feel his hand on my shoulder, and it's this weird feeling of, this is an undead, like this is a spirit grabbing my shoulder. There's also this sense of humanity and like strength he's lending me. And so with that, like lend strength, I use a cast lightning spell, and we destroy the little drummer boy spirit. I don't know why I keep calling him the drummer boy. It's a Christmas carol, but the undead boy with the drum. Yeah. We end up just destroying him, and him and the rest of the spirits go to rest. And here's something I forgot. He said, you have to tell people about my research. And that was and it's been 90 episodes. I just haven't done that.
Well, but for Brise, of course,
it hasn't been that long. Yeah.
Because
I should note that down. I know
late April, right, is when this was going on, I believe.
Right.
And so it's only been a couple of months. And as I recall, we have talked about you.
Right. I then learned, I brought it up with Adabir, an elderly wizard who is helping me, locate Kralum, and with, involved with Verlag as well. He told me to keep it under wraps because his research, Agricole's research, contains a very sensitive information to the Miagral, the local lord of that town.
Right. It's it dealt with a material that was very harmful to magic.
Right.
And so it would give Miagral an enormous amount of power over any magicians she wishes to enslave or coerce or whatever.
Right.
And Adabir, though a long friend of Miagral's, doesn't trust her with that type of power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll find a way to maybe get some more info on this research. And I don't know, maybe it is best that it stays secret forever if it really is something that dangerous too. So
right.
I know.
That touches on the complex web of social relationships that exist within Karandrin. And I guess I've never asked you directly if you feel like those feel real and organic, and do you think those are carried off successfully within Karandrin, even though they may be somewhat overwhelming to keep track of?
Yeah. It's weird because they do feel very authentic. And what's interesting, I guess, let me back up. Sometimes they don't, because we skip over a lot of the, what do you call it? Just the kind of casual, like, so how are you doing?
Oh, sure.
Like anything to eat. It's like, how's the weather? All conversations have that. like all books, when you write dialogue in a novel, you kind of skip over that, right? You just get straight to you phrase it in a way that makes it interesting to read. And we do the same thing. Um,
So
and
it does
because
sort of
there's
shortchange some building there that could,
and
yeah.
because there's so much social stuff in Karandrin, sometimes it does feel like everybody in the world is like has an agenda and is like out to like do stuff. Um, but every now and then, like Aldrich, we'll have like a date with Aldrich, or we'll just have a more casual interaction. And then it kind of reminds me, like, yeah, these are just people, and they really
Right.
do have agendas. They are trying to achieve things, but they still have they're just people, and they like creature comforts, and they're living
Right.
in this world. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I think it is good. I think just more reminders. Sometimes, like if I walk into a character who's currently doing something, like a pleasure or doing something
Oh, yeah,
big,
yeah, yeah.
they're reading a book, or they're. I think I came across a character who was reading a book, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like, what are they reading?" And we started a conversation about that. Like those, I like those types of things. Um, Seeing a lot of that is what I really enjoy as well.
Right.
So,
It
yeah,
certainly, you're right that it makes the world and the characters feel realer, more real.
and it gives an opportunity, so they come to adventure, right? Instead of saying like, "What have you seen? What stories do you have?" If they're already doing something, it gives like a point to jump into the conversation, I guess.
One of the parts of sort of reflecting sort of a, pseudo medieval life that I'm really bad at is I forget two major social aspects of medieval life, and I'm trying to do better about them. But one is,
Brothels. Sorry.
yes, yes. Although, how could I? Like,
Actually, I couldn't. There's so many brothels in Karandrin.
that's right. That's right. But one is the two huge ones is song,
Oh yeah,
particularly public song,
right.
and
Yeah.
the other is dance. And it's just based on my own. I'm not a big public performer, even and so it's a bias on my part that I need to um, work on,
Mm,
because a lot of your social knowledge comes from those as well, right?
right. The tales
Just
would be songs, that I would.
right, because some of them would have religious importance, and some would have a historical importance. Some would just simply have cultural importance in the sense that they establish a cultural identity for a people. If
Right.
you have a song with some dwarven character and repeatedly they're brave and strong, repeatedly they're brave and strong, that's sort of race building, right?
Right.
That's enculturation for people just hearing the song, just as we
Right.
teach that, falsely, of course, we teach that George Washington was especially honest as a child. That's
Right.
part of this enculturation, that presidents should be honest, even though we never hold them to that standard. But it's something I need to work on. In fact, I've added it to personality rollers for new characters,
Oh, interesting.
their enjoyment of song, their enjoyment of dance.
Musical inclination. Yeah.
Hmm. And just like, do they really look forward to that? No, they're shy, but they like being around it. Like, where do they fall within that spectrum?
I really want you to roll like a 1 or 2 for like song and dance, and like whenever it comes on, they're just like, "Oh, jeez, I gotta get out of here."
Exactly.
So averse to it.
Exactly. There's a joke in Family Guy talking about karaoke. Get up after three music majors in a row and embarrass yourself,
Exactly.
which is so true. It's so
Mhm.
true. Even in our own area where we live, Karen and I have gone to karaoke night, and clearly there are performers there.
Mhm.
Maybe they're just local theater or whatever, but they have real training, and you're just like, I'm not getting up after that and singing Midnight
Mhm.
Cowboy. You can forget that. I'm just no. It does dampen people's enthusiasm for getting
Yeah,
up
it sets
and
the bar, yeah.
yeah. Um, well, I mean, to go back then to this, if you that's all you wanted to say
Yeah, no,
on,
that's good. Yeah, there's still more points we haven't touched on in the
yeah.
mind. Yeah.
But so like going back to the cave adventure, which again is episode 14 through 18, we learned that it's a mine and so on. But one of the things that I try to work on is to give a great deal of variety to the type of mystery that you find.
Mhm.
And so that's, I think, something that came through very nicely in this particular set of adventures and this particular area you were exploring, because you had the sense of the history of a place, but then also the mystery, the physical mysteries of the place. For instance, this
Right.
do you remember the soft, dark material that was
Right.
sort of embedded in the walls? You could dent it
Right.
with your thumbnail, but then it would kind of resume its shape after
Right.
the indentation would fade. Um, and so the question is, what is that material? Is that what they were after? Were there
Mhm.
larger deposits? And and these are just the scraps, right?
Right.
Um, and they followed the main vein of it and took it out. Um, and then you came across the
And then
tree.
where might they have stored it if they had
Oh,
taken it out?
exactly. What was it used for? Where is it now?
Right.
You know, and then you came across the trees, these strange, not green, not really wood, but sort of organic black trees that could go from the ceiling, or they could grow from the ceiling where you are up there,
Mhm.
and or down, up from the ground, and then you found that larger one where it would actually, it had a mirror form of itself. It grew up, and it was about 30, 40, 50 feet high.
Yeah.
And then the crown of the tree then mushroomed out, and then the trunk reformed and reattached to
Right.
the very high ceiling of that particular cavern. And so it's not just a mystery about people; it can be a mystery about other living organisms that are plants.
Right.
um, and I like that. I'm sure there's got to be viewers who have passed us by because the mysteries aren't all interlinked. They don't
Right.
necessarily add up to things.
Right.
But I think my argument to that point is they shouldn't. Not if you want the world to feel not contrived, not if you want it to feel organic.
And then
Some
when they do add up to things, it's like, wow, that's even more, you didn't expect it, right?
right.
Whereas in a module in D&D, it's like, oh, of course, these two evil guys are actually the same person. Like, that's cool, that's interesting, but in an organic world, that's fascinating. Yeah, I
Yeah,
prefer that.
yeah. The modules, because they attempt to be economical, right? They haven't learned, the writers of those have not learned that if you give extraneous information, the challenge falls to the players to determine what's significant and what's not significant, right? So if you come across a sword of particular note, shall we say a remarkable sword,
Mhm.
strange in design or whatever, if it's not involved, they won't know that, and they'll try to make sense of it within the scope of the adventure. And now you don't have to do tons of extraneous stuff, but if you do about 1 out of 3 elements being extraneous, it's more challenging and more satisfying, I think, for your players
It is, yeah.
because now they have to pick through what the details, which details are relevant, which ones aren't.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does become more of mystery solving, um, and it's more challenging for like what questions to ask. You know,
Right. It's kind of
uh,
like when I'll come across, multiple types of like weapons and like magic items, like in a dungeon. It's like, which ones do I like use? Are some of these relevant to this situation or not? You kind of just, yeah, you do just, it builds your arsenal of like problem solving. You end up,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You end
and
up having more fun, I think.
I think so. I think so. I just think the options, when you expand the options for play, I think the players feel empowered, honestly.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of why I chose a more sandbox approach to role playing than the modular approach. Is I wanted the players to be totally empowered within the realms of their character's personality, within those confines,
Right.
to lead the adventuring life they want to lead. And if you have
Even
a
if, even if that means blowing up a whole town.
it does, Joshua. You
I've
know,
heard the stories.
it's right. That's our guy. You know, so. Um, but yeah, so I do like the range of mysteries, you know,
Right.
that the Mind Adventure presented to us.
And I do want to back up. And I'm talking a lot of, but one thing I did want to add on natural, like it doesn't always have to be people. You mentioned it could be these natural things like the trees or like the flower children who I came across in
Right.
another very early episode. Um, it's interesting. You have like social mysteries, and then like, yeah, these creatures, and it's the social ones. You kind of like have to talk with them and use language and like communicate. But with like the creatures, you can kind of poke around and like mess with them and like, because they're an animal, like you're not expected to interact with the same way as a human. So I find I like that there's both types of mystery in Karandrin. And sometimes they're the same. It's weird. It'll be a creature. I'll be kind of messing around with it, and then I'll talk, and I'm like, okay, so like we can actually communicate, and then
Right.
it's a different kind of game. Like, who are you, and where do you come from? I really like that whole spectrum of mystery and discovery. Karandrin really has all of that. I feel
Yeah.
more
That's
so than any other game. I think.
yeah, and it's it was one of the reasons that um, I was eager to do a stream. You know, our buddy Josh was the one who pushed us to do it, and one of my central motives for doing it was I'm curious to what degree this style of role playing would resonate with other, to what degree it would resonate with the role playing audience. And I know there's going to be hack and slash and all that kind of stuff, and people like that. I get that, and that's fine. That is what that is what it is. Um, so,
I want to say I didn't even realize Quinn. Hello, Quinn. He's been messaging us this whole time.
yeah,
I
we're
just
trying
saw
to get
he had
used
three
to
messages.
this. Yeah, I just saw that too. I was
Okay,
used to the chat function, and yeah, I see
been
him.
here a long time. Did I not advocate for tossing various things in or people into the lava, Quinn? I believe you did in that episode. I remember you repeatedly, I think, advocating for
Although,
Brise and other characters
to
to throw.
give the matter a full airing, Quinn recommends throwing things in the lava when there's no available lava. So it's just a standby,
Until I
suggestion.
learned the spell summon lava.
Exactly. That's the way he'll go.
Then I will
Quinn,
be able to throw the lava, and that will greatly increase our efficiency.
that's right. Am I not mistaken? Is Quinn, are you watching us on YouTube? It looks like he's watching us on YouTube. Am I
Yes,
right?
he's chatting on YouTube.
So we are on YouTube.
Yeah, I have us live on YouTube. I forgot to mention I did.
Okay. Well, see, it's so very strange because there was, as we discussed, there was no place to input a stream key for this new platform. Cool. Quinn, what do you think about the new? What do you think about the new stream platform, and what do you think about, like, how do we look compared to when we were on Restream? Do you think our quality is better?
I will give you some bad news, Kevin. My quality looks pretty bad on YouTube.
That's so strange.
It looks as bad, if not worse, than Restream. Man, we might have to shell out the big bucks to get just the HD.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll have more discussions, more experiments. That's
Right. Right.
Experimental streams.
Well, Quinn, chime in and let us know how we look generally, but especially Max, since he's saying that he looks kind of low quality, at least visually, maybe not and intellectually. But
I think I just need a shower. That's the problem.
that's a little bit of the case over here. Yeah, that's right. So I think it's is it your turn? You're going to talk about your next
Yeah,
thing?
sure. So I think what was the other Oh, that's right. So again, in the whole campaign with to free Kralum and undo Verilag's influence and source of power, we had entrusted the wizard Adabir to help us out. And so Adabir was a really fun character because he was interested in harnessing the power of demons for good. So he would use, absorb demonic energy and then use that to, cure a disease or, uh, bless crops so they'll fare better. And he really believed in this, which was very what's the word, heretical, I guess. Being right, we were discussing the other day, heretical or blasphemous.
Yeah.
It definitely goes against
Apostasy versus heresy.
yeah. So it kind of making him my ally was already a little bit like a little bit of a risk, but he was very passionate about this project. And so at Miagral's keep, he had hired a few other apprentices under him. And I should also mention Kralin himself was helping us as well. Although he's trapped in the volcano, he was able to possess small animals and use them to speak or to move things. He could he'd like to possess a rat and would sneak into the library and read books for information.
Right.
And so in the process of Adabir helping us out, I have a conversation. I need to remember how this went. I believe I had a conversation with Adabir in his quarters about, we brought up the fact that we might not free Kralum, yet we would use, Kralum's power. We would absorb some of his power, see if we could use it for Adabir's research. And then, once we had kind of perfected that, we could use that power to then free Kralum, to break his chains and release him from his prison. So Kralum had eavesdropped on that and did not like that very much. And I forget the sequence of events, but essentially I woke up one day or one evening to the sound of screams coming from the other room in the keep. And so I run down and I see Burla, who is Adabir's kind of main head butler, who came with them on this venture. He's, completely stricken. He's talking about, what did he say? I think just the shoes. That's all that's left. And we see Tegriv run past us as well, go into Adabir's room, and he is, in tears at what he saw. And it turns out that Kralum had murdered Adabir by he opened up Verilag's tome, because it wasn't me who opened it, right? I have Verilag's kind of soul with me, so I'm safe to open them. He activated a ward that then just blew himself and Adabir up. I forgot how convoluted this was, but it all made sense. Kralum, realized that Adabir was not going to this. I think he was like 80 years old, 85, very elderly, very super intelligent, had probably a level, I don't know what, level 50 maybe, wizard, very, very high.
I mean, he would be very, it's kind of funny. We can say he's very experienced, and it both has a mechanical meaning and a real world meaning that are the same effectively.
Yeah. And so Kralum just took things in his own hands. Is like, if this guy's not going to free me immediately, I don't want his knowledge or research.
Right.
That's the way I guess he could surefire kill Adabir. Actually, I think, didn't he convince Adabir to open the tome by himself? He said, "Open the tome; it should be safe." And then
we don't know exactly what happened.
Oh no, that's right, because we can't ask Kralum, and he was the only witness. God, yeah, there's still some mystery behind that. So that whole sequence of events, and the fact that this powerful wizard died, who was kind of leading this whole effort, it really, really set us back, and really was a shock for me, and I think for everybody watching.
It was.
That was
That
episode
was
53. Yeah.
that was a crazy moment in episode 53. That was a hell of a development.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't stop them unless I feel like it's going to be really, really harmful to the story.
Right.
I'm like, Kralum's pissed, right? I mean, he's really pissed.
Mhm.
He feels totally betrayed, and so, um,
And again, he's a demon lord who's lived for thousands of years. So if this 90-year-old wizard pisses him off, he doesn't care. That's like, chump
right,
change to him.
right,
So, and
um,
that's what I kept forgetting as a player. And I think as a character too, like you're dealing with this ancient being who, it's hard to remember their their hidden agenda and
right.
just
It's and it is perhaps a drawback in Karandrin. It's the degree to which you do have to kind of keep multiple things in the air,
right.
you know. But I kind of always go back to if it gets too much for a player or a character, like however you want to, well, depending on the situation, right?
Mhm.
The player may say, "This is just too much for me." And as long as it's not totally against what the character would do, I don't have any objections to the player extracting the character from that situation
Yeah.
and saying, "This is too much. This is too. I'm over my head. I'm out of my pay grade." However you want to phrase that. And
'Cause people do it in real life too. It's a very human thing to do.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're in a messy work situation, maybe you've got two supervisors clashing over use of resources, and you're caught in the middle. You
It's like
know,
every day for me.
yeah, that's right. But you can take steps just to extract yourself out of that situation. And so I try to counsel myself that way, where it's just like, now here I admit is not a great example of that because you're literally spiritually tied to what's going on.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so I try to, you know, I won't, nonetheless, I won't shy away from solutions to that problem. Like even if it's just if I make a word template to give out to players where they have a little easier time
Mhm.
keeping track of who's doing what, I'd be fine with that, because we do it better in our heads in our real life than
Yeah.
if you double up on it in a game, right? You're running two lives, and that's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
And so I don't, if I printed out, three different nice templates for players, so look, this just helps you keep track of stuff. I'd be fine to do
Yeah.
that.
It's weird role playing, especially Karandrin. It kind of feels like being an actor, both out lines. It's all improv. Like you have to
Yeah.
be this character, but you also need to make sure everything's cohesive and there's a plot and like,
Right.
things
Right.
make sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is challenging sometimes.
Josh has said as much. Has said that it's as close to drama as when he was in plays in high school.
Yeah.
And you are portraying certainly, and even if you're not necessarily emoting, and
That's right.
so
Karandrin's just as a high school play. That's the merit we hold it to. No, but it's true, and I hope people like that aspect of it, the emotional.
right, right,
It's
um,
just with the tension, like we were mentioning, emotional tension is just
right,
as important as danger. All that. So
right. Well, what do you think about us taking a break and we'll come back and we'll do a couple more and then we'll wrap it up. What do you think
sure,
about
yeah,
it?
yeah.
All
I
right. So you can give me our break screen. There you go. And then I will hide us. But so, guys, just bear with us for a few moments. We're going to stretch our legs and refresh our drinks. And we'll be right back with the rest of our look back on 100 episodes of Brise's Tale. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in just a minute. Ah, wrong button. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us throughout the break. I should get our good buddy back on here. There he is. Oh, I'm not
I'm
being
on the
on time.
bottom now. Thank you. Jesus. Would it be funny if I just like run downstairs and then I just come out the door like on your screen?
Oh my God, that would be
Hire
fun.
a stunt double to do
Right.
that. Doesn't even need a stunt double, just someone who looks like you.
Exactly. Exactly. Um,
Welcome back, everybody.
yeah. To pick back up, we're looking back at some of our more interesting moments over the past 100 episodes of Brise's Tale. Um, and just a reminder to everybody, and I'll remind us too at the end of the stream, but we're not going to broadcast this Wednesday because I've got a medical procedure. But August 30th, we'll be back with episode 103, I believe it is. And we'll see what good fun we can have then. I think we'll be using this new platform. But to get back to our retrospective on some of our favorite moments, I'm going to continue in the vein of this exploration of the mind.
Vein.
I know. Thank you very much.
I was gonna say it's a gold mine of information.
That's right. It
I'm
is.
using the word, so I can't really.
If you, so again, this is through episodes 14 through 18, where we're exploring this abandoned mine that was also a military facility and a lab. We mentioned these sort of almost alien trees that were present throughout the mine. No green to them. They were both black wooded and black leaved. There was this really large one in a particular chamber of natural cave that the mines reached into. It grew 30, 40, 50 feet high, and then its crown flourished out, and then the trunk grew again from that crown and attached to the ceiling. But one of the more fun moments, I think, from that adventure is fighting the giant spider that made a home there.
Yeah.
It was super creepy. It was dark. It was talking to you, and that goes to the sort of the issues of tension that we've discussed. Where you don't know what's going on. There's a sense of menace to the situation. You can't see the threat. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that whole scenario, the back and forth with it, and then the battle where you swung at it leapt at you and snatched your flail out of your hands. And then
I think that battle was really long, but it felt really short. I something like that. I thought we had like a lot of parries.
It was like 2 stages. You tried to teleport out, and the teleport didn't work.
Oh, right.
And then it bit you, and you fell unconscious with poison.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And then it strung you up in a cocoon and hung you from the cavern wall. And sort of brings one of the fun elements of tension that you can use in these sorts of things, and that is the escape. Right. And so it's scurrying around, chittering happily to itself. You come to feeling sick to your stomach, and it's you trying to get out of there without alerting it that you're out. I believe you were able to work your way free a little bit. You got your dagger and started cutting stuff, but you made some noise. And do you remember it came over and was like, and we were all like, oh, geez, this is so creepy. This just dangerous thing just hovering over you, trying to see if it did indeed hear movement from you. And I just remember really enjoying that. And then
I want to say it was literally like a horror video game, except that this came before video games. This is what,
right.
Monsters, you're trying to sneak around.
Yes.
Quiet.
And so yeah, and then like you got free, and then you were blasting away at it, as I recall.
I think I
And
used a sleep potion. I believe I
ultimately, yeah, I
lost.
think ultimately
Yeah.
you did, but I think you missed it a couple of times.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
I think,
Then it might have been the second phase that I remember is
right.
John. It was this
Everyone,
very, very quick, like a lot of rolling, but a lot of just nothing really happening. We kept
right. So everyone go back to episode 14 through 18, and I think it's either 15 or 16, and go back and watch all of that, and let us know how it went, and give us some more views.
it was actually just a tiny spider and it like squashed it. We're just like really blowing up.
That's right. But I really enjoyed that. I enjoy there too being a mix of challenges where it's like, so like you are precariously hung
Mhm.
by the webbing, not a great, purchase that you can do, but you've also got to fight this thing. So I like it when it's tactically sort of um, not so straightforward as like you're just standing on the ground swinging at each other, although that can be fun too.
Right.
Um, you know, um,
Yeah, and the fun thing is like all that results in it is a minus, minus 15 or whatever to my attack, like mathematically. But like in the story and how I'm controlling the character, it like means so much. And like
yeah,
that's really I don't even think about the math. I'm just thinking about like how am I gonna like make this work? Yeah.
right,
Angle myself in the right way.
right.
And
Just
kudos to you
anxious.
for that immersion, making.
Right. Yeah. Because I really wanted to take at least the player side of the math out of it as much as I can, so that it really is okay. The problem is I'm disadvantaged, somewhat or greatly or a little,
Right. You don't know how much. Yeah. It just
and
you feel like it's really tough. Yeah.
right. And I really do think it adds, as you said, to the immersion and to the tension of it. That you don't get to know every little detail about everything. There are no source books for you to go to. There are no, if you want the answers, you have to earn the answers in Karandrin. So, I do you have another one that you?
Yeah, I do. Actually, well, it's one you told me like a month ago. You suggest doing this. You said, "I always do this," and then I'm like, "Well, I'll steal it since you're not going to bring it up." Which is
Yeah,
a little guy called Aluktu. For anybody that remembers, they had
yeah,
this super early stream. I wasn't even writing episodes down at this point, which I regret because now I don't know which episode this guy appeared in. It
right.
was April 3rd in game time, and
Okay.
I think March 29th is when we started streaming. So I mean, yeah, it's not too far away from the beginning of stream. Maybe episode like 10 or something.
So wait,
Um,
so it's April. You said it was
it was
so.
April 3rd, right? We started streaming March 29th in game dates.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't even have the date of the episode or when it was. That's
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
stupid for not doing that. But anyway, it'll be a mystery. Whoever can find that episode, it's
That's
100
right.
Karandrin points.
That's right. That's right. I
And
love the
so,
Korean
yeah, a
gag.
luck to was this. I was nighttime. I was traveling from Convergence. I think I was trying to find Adabir's. We had heard of Adabir and we knew that he lived outside of Convergence, pretty close by. So I was actually, I think, on the way to his house, given some instructions I had gotten in town. And it was night, and this scroll down to how do we see him first? So I think he's just this shape on like the horizon, right?
Yeah, he
Or
was.
is it the fire? Is it the fire first?
No, he lands in a tree nearby, and you
Right.
see the weight of him bend the
So
tree.
wake up in the middle of the night, see the tree bend, and this two-headed creature inside, clinging to the tree, and then a fire ignites, or I think my campfire turns green and starts to speak to me. Um, and it calls himself a demon named Aluktu, and it's following, felt a call to all dark powers from their master, which we put two and two together, or I guess Brise did, and we helped realize that Verilag is probably summoning powerful creatures to either kill to obtain what they have, or to uh, make them servants or allies.
Right.
Um,
It's right. It's calls to her service.
right. And this demon heard that, and oh, and then this was interesting. We um, I warned them against going toward Verilag. I knew how cruel she is, and that she was probably going to only use him for her own gains, ultimately. And so I kind of saved this demon, like I warned him against
Right.
Verilag, and then he was in my debt. He said, "Call on me if I have a favor to ask." So that itself was just such an interesting experience. And there's more instances with Luctu we can talk about too.
Yeah, he was very interesting in the degree to which he was honor bound.
Yeah, he had a personality. He was the first
Yeah.
demon besides Kralum that kind of really had I'm like, wow, this guy, like, yeah, honor bound. Um, and it's weird, very powerful. Yeah, and like knowing how to wield that kind of to seem intimidating.
Yeah. Do you remember the sound of his portals? The
Right,
description.
right.
Yeah,
And
with
so that's
like the
yeah,
screaming of like metal children. I mean, it's just it was this horrific rending noise as he tore open, space to travel instantly from position to position.
and why
Uh,
that happened is because I nodded off and had a terrible nightmare, just this like god awful hellscape nightmare. And Aluktu's kind are attracted by black dreams, is what it was I was told. And so literally, he thought I had called him and yeah, summoned this portal.
right.
And that's what I woke up to, the sound of this screeching noise, and it was his portal opening up. It
That's
was
fantastic.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
in that situation, I was with other people. I had some adventurers who I had temporarily joined. Um,
Yeah, you
uh,
had befriended them because they were like half starved, weren't they? They were.
I think they were lost, headed in the wrong direction, or yeah, very hungry. I think I shared
Yeah.
my rations with them, and so we were traveling together. And in Aluktu, like all demons, apparently they have just a natural. Ironically, it's natural, right? It's a natural unnaturalness, just an innate sense of they destroy nature and corrupt it around them, and that happened to all of us. We ended up, even though this demon is in my debt, he said he's honor bound to me. He ended up damaged my spirit so much that we had to go get like healing from a priest. Um,
Right. And he advised, or he or she advised you that, spend time at rest, spend
right,
time around laughter and beauty
that's right,
to rebuild the spirit. And you did. I
right.
mean, you hung out in taverns and
For a
tried
couple
to,
days, I remember. Yeah, I took it easy. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I like too those sort of less mechanical uh, detriments, I guess you would call them,
Mhm.
right? Where it's like, no, you've been affected in a way that, that I don't know if it reduces your hit points. I don't know about that, but you
Right,
feel bad. You feel
right,
not yourself.
right. And the way you've described it is really effective. Is you just feel sick, like when you wake up sick in real life. You're just like,
Yeah,
I'm at like a -20. This just everything I'm going to do is harder. Um,
right.
yeah,
You're just a little under the. You're just not at full power.
right.
You're preoccupied by this gnawing feeling of chill or of something that's
Mhm.
you know. Um, I like that. Yeah, I like that aspect a lot. And I kind of my argument. And I forget if I got this from Rollmasters, like first, second, or third edition of Rollmaster Companion. I forget, but they talked about introducing sort of soul or soul points in the game. And my argument is that basically, if your soul drops below a certain level, then there's no question that when you die, you're going to rise again because your soul is too damaged to go on.
Right, to
Uh,
properly, yeah, go to the right place. Yeah,
right.
that's interesting.
And
Yeah,
so that could explain then why undead can create other undead.
right.
You know,
Damaging their souls, and yeah,
yeah. So yeah, it's so easy, and of course it's something. It's just American movies are just rife with, which is that bad guys are just two dimensional.
Mhm.
and giving them a personality as well. It enriches gameplay. It also gives you strategies that you
Right.
wouldn't have because
It makes the story longer. You can do more.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if
So
that's what you meant or what you were gonna say. I was just yeah.
in part, yes, but it also gives you inroads to try things, right? Like if you know that they have a temper, we'll try to turn that temper against one of your enemies and away from you.
Right.
If they're vain, like that was a point that you had with that you used against Verlag, is
Right.
she really enjoyed flattery. She really enjoyed this sense of people following her and so on.
Right.
And part of your success with her was that very early on, when you would try to flatter her and so on, I would roll it for you, and you had some very high rolls.
Mm.
And so from that point on, I gave you bonuses with her. You left such a good impression with her that literally from that point on, for the 100 episodes, I guess that wrapped up in episode 75, 76, somewhere along there. You know, every role with her, you got a bonus
Right.
because she had such positive feelings towards you as being a true admirer of her.
It's funny about that too. I got those positive roles, and this was before stream, but when I first encountered Verilag, and I had broken them from, um, I had done something to this prison. I wasn't sure what yet. I had kind of walked too close to it, and so I left, and I encountered a man who I don't remember the circumstances. It's in my written notes, so I'm not going to go dig that up and find that. But I
It was
believe
a wounded hunter. It was a
he was
wounded hunter.
okay, wounded hunter, right? And I, came to his aid, and I think I offered him some first aid, and then I saw something in him. I think you asked me to roll perception, and I don't know if I rolled a double odd or
You did.
yeah,
You
I rolled
did.
a straight 100, and I like saw so clearly that this was Verilag, someone with evil, malicious. Well, I didn't say it was Verilag, someone with malicious intent, like someone who clearly is
Yeah.
evil. And so I
Often
like
their
that.
true nature.
Right, because of that role, it almost feels like I was able to deceive her for so long. It's like I know who she is, and
Yeah.
like I always felt that kind of like unspoken. Is it felt so good in like the storytelling. I was able to
Yeah.
deceive
It
her
it
against.
really it really set the stage, didn't it? I
Yes,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, it was so interesting because I had this whole idea about okay, so there's this being inside of a prison, extremely powerful. I didn't know exactly what yet, and I said, okay, so um, they want to escape. I said, so I roll, you roll broad questions and you narrow them down. That's
Mhm.
that's the proper way to solve these things when you're doing sandbox. And I said, is it possible for her to escape the prison? The answer was yes. Is it possible? Does she know the means of doing so? And the answer was yes. And so essentially, she was going to, as this hunter, she was going to team up with you, and she was going to be like, look, I have a strong sense about things. And she was going to basically lie to you in your travels and say, I recognize that person, that woman over there, she's a witch.
Mhm.
She cursed my village or whatever, right? And to you, it just looks like a normal person. Well, because it is a normal person.
Right.
And they are going to try to convince you that this person needs to be killed. And so every wrongful death she can convince you to cause brings her closer to freedom because
Really?
she's basically through you, every life you take unjustly, that soul comes to her and empowers her.
Oh my
And
gosh,
so I think the
that's
number was
insane.
21. She had to get 21. And that was going to be your life, was basically as this unwitting murderer.
Wow. But I had to be the ones to kill them. Interesting. It was
Yeah,
just somehow related through me. I'm like the
right.
catalyst.
Because obviously she's would be have been blocked from that avenue of power if they knew about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's about extending her evil to you so that she is undercutting whatever actions you would have whatever good you would provide. And so you remember, like when you saw through her and she saw through
Mhm.
to her, and she recognized that you had pierced her illusion, pierced
Right.
her deception. she said, "I would have had such fun with you."
That's right. I remember something along those lines. Very
Yeah,
mysterious. Yeah.
yeah.
That's why you had that all planned out. Oh my gosh. And what in the span of probably, 30 seconds, you rolled all that up.
Yeah, it was, yeah, possibly 2 minutes, but yeah, I'm like, okay, what are the big questions? And and some things I don't roll entirely for, if I just have a good idea, like, okay, what will this methodology be? Because rolling something as broad as a methodology of escape from a magical prison is just it's so wild that
Right.
it would take you an hour to roll up all the possibilities. So if I just have a good idea, what I'll do is roll yes or no to the good idea.
Right.
And if
You
it's
just,
no,
yeah,
then I'll find another one.
like you
You know,
said, answering, putting forth good questions that eliminate possibilities and
right.
narrow it down. Um,
Um, yeah. But it certainly turned out to be a hell of a ride. And I hope
yeah.
people enjoy, especially those. If you're interested in the Verlag saga, that's basically
That's really
episodes
great.
1 through 75, and
Yeah.
um, that was pretty well largely dominated by the question, certainly overshadowed by the question of how to escape Verlag's clutches
Right.
and save the world from her future influence.
Right.
Um, and um, and I'll be curious to see, what sort of next overarching issue is going to be presented to us in 76 through
Right.
onward, right?
We kind of have developed one almost. We have the whole Cult of the Iron Empress, you know,
Right.
and I'm not directly involved. Like I could just say, anytime I could call it quits, go somewhere else. But I'm pretty committed to Bullshot. I think finding a way to bring them down. They are kind of the new large
Yeah, they're
enemy.
a newly discovered. In fact, reading your notes, I found the name of that tiny community in the village in the valley.
Oh, okay. Why
And
why don't
so,
you just out me publicly in front of everyone on millions
uh,
of people? Just
but
tell
I
me.
found the name of it. I'd forgotten it too, and so I'll shoot you that, or we'll talk about it after the stream. But
One of us
um,
remembers it. That's what's important.
I didn't remember it. I had to come across
Right.
it in the notes.
Right.
But
Exactly. I didn't either. I just wrote it down. That's what I'm saying.
um,
Good.
so
Good.
yeah, so well, I think we've sort of we've had a good time going through
Yeah.
a lot of these episodes from our past 100. Certainly looking forward to the next 100 and seeing what will develop. There is if you've been watching, and certainly if you've been playing, that there's a lot of different threads to pull on. Um, both short and long threads. There are areas simply to explore and take a month of streams to do so, and then there are longer issues at play, and we have our level 13 paladin who is now has some relationships, alliances, enemies, but has built up sort of a nice network of resources, um, and has also caused their share of trouble, including people can look back on some of the last handful of episodes of Shekra and
Yeah.
um, gaining access to the prison where Verlag is now recaptured, and
Mhm.
but again, Max, I want to thank you for being so much fun to play with and sticking with us through all this. I've greatly enjoyed it. So,
So
do
have
you have
I.
any?
That's
So,
why
you
I've stuck around.
That's right. So, you have any final thoughts for about Karandrin, about the game as a whole, or an episode in particular that um, that
No, I think I'm Karandrin out. I probably already
that
talked about everything that I had, was passionate about on my brain. If I think about it anymore, I'll text you. Maybe we could do another one of these though, because yeah, I thought it was really fun, and we do, we say 100 episodes, and it's like, oh, that's a lot, but it really is. If you go back, there's been so many subplots and interesting developments, and I would say probably one out of every like 5 or 6 episodes, there's a whole, arc or significant event that really affects Brise, deeply, which is really impressive. I feel like not every RPG can claim that. So
Yeah, sustain it maybe.
yeah. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Do you want me to go to the end slate, or
Yeah, let's go to the end slate. And
please?
so, Guy,
We need everyone to click on these links to support us.
that's right. We
We'll show
do.
it any time.
We do indeed. Yeah, so we're gonna be sticking with this setup for at least for the next month or so. We're gonna see how it goes. See if we
Yeah.
look better. We'll get feedback from our regulars to see how we look and sound. So we will be back on doing a normal stream August 30th. I think that's episode 103. So that's August 30th that we'll be back, and I'll post that on YouTube. The but thanks as always for supporting us and hanging out with us. I'm sorry for the little late announcement on this one, but hey, it's up there permanently, so you can always go back and watch it. So if you think we're doing a great job, and I really hope you do, then hop to Donor Box there at that link and send us a little love. We always appreciate that. If you want to hear more from Max, and I think you should, then hop to his YouTube channel where he discusses the role of music and original soundtracks in video games. Thanks as always to Elliot Dunovitz for their terrific character art for Brise that we use every stream. You can see more of their work at artstation.com/Tortolua. And I wrote a novel, and I hope you find it on Amazon and you enjoy it as much as I do. And you scratch my hair, just scratch my head there for a minute. Oh, thank you. That feels great. And so thanks everybody. Next stream is Wednesday, August 30th. We look forward to seeing you there. Max, say goodbye to the lovely people.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who watched this unusual episode of Karandrin, and we'll see you again on episode 30, or August 30, episode 103.
There you go.
Got it. We're done.
All right, we're leaving.
Bye, everybody.